peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Today, Kenya is faced with a dilemma caused by succession politics of 2022. A country beaten by forces of peace, unity, against forces of impunity, bad politics, and tribal politics. The good forces of peace, unity, national reconciliation, led by President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, want to live a united, prosperous, one person, one nation, one country called Kenya. The bad forces led by Deputy President William Ruto want to live a divided, broken, damaged, dismembered Kenya without unity or purpose. Kenya today stands at cliffhanger politics. A cliffhanger politics of Machiavellian nature, where at night we praise the devils. During the daytime, we praise the leaders. We go back at night, damage the leadership. That's where Kenya is today. Whichever divide you are, there is only one way out. One way out of this quagmire is to stick to a redemption strategy. Any conflict resolution expert on this panel, like Professor Onyari, will tell you the only way out to save this nation from sinking to the another chaos is to bring out the 9 points of the BBI. All of you know the 9 points of BBI. They touch national ethos, national bad elections. It is a cocktail of disaster that the two leaders saw that the four made them to shake hands and to bring it to the table. That for Kenya to conduct another election in this country without cleaning the national electoral mechanisms, the disaster will be worse than it was before. That for Kenya to go without national healing, reconciliation, accountability, restitution, reparation, truth-telling, forgiveness, we are staring at a disaster if we don't do a reconciliation now and never. It is now and never. Embarking on an early campaign has brought us to where we are. President Uhuru Kenyatta told people to concentrate on nation building. We abandoned the nation building ventures. We have gone on personal crusade ventures. We have gone on the same path where we believe we glorify corruption and glorify many things that are not glorifiable. It is sad, therefore, for my people of Kenya. It is also a call to the people of Kenya. Either they choose to go with the redemption strategy or they perish. The choice remains the choice of the people of Kenya. If you want to go with a redemption strategy of Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta of uniting this nation, that so be it. If you want to go with obsession of 2022 politics, even when there is no referendum, and even when there is no competitor, yet the choice is yours. But at the end of the day, the citizens of this country are tired. If you don't see the fatigue that has come amongst the citizens who are being used as wheelbarrow pushers, who are being used as machines that will break in a day and you don't have any spare part to repair it, but it was done for PR, it is up to you. Do you empower people to push a wheelbarrow, or you empower people with knowledge? During this COVID-19, Rwanda, as a country that was besieged by the same disease that we see here, the disease of a creation of a hustler versus a dynasty. It is not different from the disease of a Tutsi versus a Hutu. You are not seeing what I'm seeing. Oh ye Kenyans, believe me, believe in me. You are not seeing what I'm seeing. You have created a narrative of a hustler versus a dynasty. It is like a Tutsi versus a Hutu versus a Tutsi. Look ye ahead. Look ye ahead in the horizon and see what is coming in 2022. It will be the battle of those that you want to eliminate against those who will be defending themselves. If you don't take my notes here, I will carry my dust. As the Bible said, go away with my dust. Because I see, from my vision, I can see we are on a wrong path. We have about to cross the red line. We are creating sections. We are fragmenting a state. We are dismembering a state. We are creating hurtling. Our train is hurtling towards one word. And that one word is conflict. That one word, my panel, is conflict. We better stop the train hurtling towards conflict and stop it now. Thank you.
A very good morning to you, and thank you for joining us. This is the People's Court, and on our topic today is the BBI referendum, building on consensus, not division. So that is what we shall be looking at in line with what we've been seeing. Our politicians and a lot of Kenyans say, others in support, others in support of some changes, others not in support of some changes, and what are some of the grounds that they think some of these things should be changed or should be enhanced. So that is the conversation we shall be having today. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're tuned in and you're watching us from. And on the panel today, I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi. Douglas, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you. How is Meru?
Meru is cool. Everyone here is okay, and we are supporting BBI referendum as soon as it comes.
All right, very well. So you're not in support of any changes, but we shall get to that conversation. But also on the other side, I'm joined by Daniel Wesonga. Daniel, good morning.
Yes, very, very good morning, Miriam Ogutu at our Punchline TV headquarters in Nairobi, and of course, my good friend Douglas Kirimi in Meru County, and our viewers there in Kenya, Africa, and the rest of the world.
Very well, and from Nanyuki, we are joined by Jevan Karanja. Karanja, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to Douglas and Daniel Wesonga. And good morning and good afternoon to our viewers, wherever you're watching us from. Good morning.
Yes, indeed. And last but certainly not least is Professor Jared Unyari. Professor, good morning. Well, Professor is working on joining us. A bit of some signal problem there, but he shall be with us in a short bit. So let's just start where he rallied them to support the document and ruled out opening it further for input. His sentiments were yet another clear indicator that the door on those calling for the accommodation of more views, led by Vice President William Ruto, his allies and a section of religious leaders, had been shut. The stage for a contested referendum was last week set following a declaration by opposition leader Raila Odinga that there will be no substantial changes to the document, and insistence by Deputy President William Ruto that the document must be opened up. Raila said the Building Bridges Initiative report contains views of a majority of Kenyans, suggesting that the disgruntled interest groups can choose to support or oppose it at a referendum. And I think earlier on we were having this conversation, and I said perhaps my history was failing me. But anywhere we've seen in the world a referendum take place, there has to be a side that agrees or a side that opposes. We saw, in Guinea, there was a referendum that illegally happened, I think in March, that allowed President Conde to have a third term, but it was a referendum. So there were those that opposed, there were those that supported. Of course, it passed, and we've seen the other one in Egypt and across the world, and we've had our referendum here, I think, twice. And so from my understanding, in a referendum, there has to be a side that supports and a side that opposes. Otherwise, why are we voting Kirimi, sorry.
Miriam, including in where you think in countries where there are people that are not supposed to oppose anyone. Mm-hmm. For example, in Russia, they yearned to put the question and bring about the presidential amendments that they brought in Russia, and the people of Russia voted amidst COVID. Actually, they had postponed then Putin so that the people of Russia needs to come out and vote for a referendum. And there are the people, opposition was opposing, and the people in government and those that support President Putin were all of them opposing and supporting. Some opposing and some supporting. The people that are talking about building consensus, like we said yesterday, Miriam, my position remains that everyone that is opposing BBI report today is talking about a consensus that we could have had for the last 2 years, Miriam. So these people are not honest, like I said, and I maintain that the consensus that we should have, we have already earned the consensus across the millions of Kenyans. 47 million Kenyans have had a consensus for the last 2 years, and they have agreed on what to do. And like I supported Professor Nyari yesterday, I said what needs to be done today are editorial fixes, nothing more. Then we go to the referendum. Those that are opposing, we should be having two camps. And that does not mean that we are lesser Kenyans or they are lesser Kenyans. No. Because there are things we are supporting and there are things that are not supporting, including here in Meru today. If the governor today brings about something that people don't agree in a public participation, there are people who will be supporting the governor and the people who will be opposing the governor. If an MCA today in our ward brings about a public participation event and people don't have to support the MCA 100%. If we need a borehole today and people are asking for piped water, people have a right to support Douglas and their side and the others to oppose us. So Miriam, my opinion is these people have no intention of supporting BBIs. They're just saboteurs, and this thing needs to go direct to referendum, and we should be having a no camp and a yes camp. The winner takes it, and then the loser calls it another day.
All right, Farrell, Daniel, I'm sure even if some of these views or some of these opinions or some of these changes that a section of politicians, the church, women, and all these people who are saying maybe you should change this and that, assuming all of those elements are included in the BBI today, I'm sure there's still some Kenyans somewhere who will not be 100% satisfied with the BBI, and they will want to go out there and make their voice known and say, as much as the rest of you have agreed up there, but some of us down here probably still have a problem with some parts of it. So they should be allowed an opportunity to state their case and to have a voice by voting no, don't you think, in a referendum?
First of all, Miriam, let me state categorically that it is a decade since, more than a decade since we had the new constitution in 2010. And now when we're talking about changing the constitution, it means that this constitution that we had in 2010, it was not a perfect document. And as we have always said here, is that it is a hybrid constitution, and altering a few things here and there and fine-tuning it really works in making sure that it works in political formations, and it really addresses the immediate effects that faces the people of Kenya. And therefore, this is not a static document. It is rather a living document. And if it is a living document, then it is subject to changes here and there to ensure that we improve it and we make it a better document of governance. And that is what we are doing, Miriam. And therefore, they have to understand also that, we are only changing this constitution after a decade long working with it and seeing some areas where it is not working. And therefore, that tells you that even in future, we have that provision, we have that opportunity to be able to change parts of the constitution, which we shall deem not to be tenable, or maybe which we shall deem to be lacking in some way, so that we add in some clauses that will make it quite efficient and quite a good document to use to govern ourselves. And number two, Miriam, I believe that the question of a referendum is similar to a question of self-determination. And even when Africa was gaining independence, when you read the history of the Francophone Africa, the West African, the Equatorial African countries, which were under the French ruling, when they were getting independence, rather, they had a question in a referendum, and France told them to decide whether they want to remain under France as their mainland and as the center of leadership of governance, or they want to gain their independence and gain their autonomy from France. And when the referendum came, I remember at that time, Guinea was the only country that said that it wanted to stay out of as an independent country, and therefore they were granted those powers. And therefore, the spirit of self-determination has been there even during pre-colonial periods here in Africa, when colonial masters wanted to give back the countries back to the African people. So it is no question that through the BBI report, through this referendum, as Douglas says, even the most totalitarian regimes always has some space for it to give people this opportunity to determine what they want in their future. And with the BBI report, Miriam, this is a document that carries the future of this country in terms of peace, in terms of unity, in terms of equitable distribution of resources, in terms of creating more opportunities for Kenyans and elevating them from poverty. And therefore, it is a document not only for the politician, but at the central heartbeat of the people's welfare. And therefore, it is upon the Kenyan people to come on board and be able to make decisions for themselves and not the politicians. And therefore, that is why I'm against these politicians who are coming at the last minute to try and alter this document to favor them in one way or another. Let Kenyans decide. We shall go to the ballots. My vote will count. Douglas's vote will count. Professor Jared Onyaru will vote. Javan will vote, and you will vote, Miriam. And then at the end of the day, the votes will be tallied, and those who will carry the day will decide the fate of the rest of the country. And those also who will not be able to implode the support in their end, they will have made a statement, and basing on that statement, we can be able to develop a future conversation. That is my take, Miriam.
All right, very well, Karanja, surely, even if all other views are the people that have expressed their concern with a few articles there in the BBI changes there, Deputy President William Ruto, governors, members of county assemblies, and a section of religious leaders and others, if at all, even all their views were taken and they were included in the BBI report, there's no way a whole 47 million of us plus would have really agreed. Or we're just assuming if their views were captured and then every Kenyan whose views was captured and represented. I'm sure there are Kenyans somewhere who might not be, be comfortable with the report, and who may have a problem with other articles that perhaps the rest of these other people have not really included. So they should be allowed an opportunity to say, I disagree, by voting no. Is that not how democracy works?
Miriam, that's exactly how democracy works, and not only in Kenya, but around the world. And Miriam, one thing that we must agree is that the BBI process was all-inclusive, because members of the public, the people from the corporate societies and so on, all walks of life, they were invited to take their views. And Miriam, when we had the handshake, the president and the former prime minister, they came up with the 9 guiding principles that they thought was the cause of divisions that we have in Kenya. And when you look at them, that was exactly what divided us. There was the question of the elections. There was the divisive election, there was corruption, there was shared prosperities, and all other things that they are there to divide us as Kenyans. And this was a process to bring all Kenyans together. And Miriam, the best way we could have gotten a consensus, we could reach to a consensus, is by Kenyans taking their views. And that's exactly what was happening. Kenyans from all walks of life, through email, through physical presentation of their memorandums, all manner of things, all manner of communication and approaches were used in order to get the views of Kenyans, and that's exactly what happened. And the people who are talking of consensus at this moment, they had 2 good years to take their recommendations, to say what they feel is not good in the document, and they failed to do that. Therefore, they cannot come to amend and to bring a consensus on issues that were there and were presented by Kenyans. Miriam, we must agree that all Kenyans have equal right to present their proposals, and that document, it does not contain proposals from any other country or from heaven or from Mercury. These are proposals from Kenyans, and no Kenya is less a Kenyan. All Kenyans are equal in matters representation, administration, justice, and social justice. Therefore, the people who failed to present their views, they termed the process and they called it a Bluebird initiative. They talked of Beba Baba Ikulu, and they talked it's a process that takes to extend the term of the president, President Uhuru, and all these manner of things. Therefore, these are the people who thought this was a joke. But to their surprise, they realized that this process was a serious process. And you see, when the president and the former prime minister joined, the temperature of the political temperature cooled down, and Kenyans there was a feeling that went around the country, and you could even see people, they were so excited, and the people were starting even having kind of a national conversation, and they moved from the tribal and ethnic conversations, and the people started seeing the purpose of a united nation, and that's exactly what happened. Therefore, these people, maybe majority of them, they drive in divisions, they drive in unfair elections, rigged elections. Maybe that is why they feel like this thing is not favoring them. There's nothing much, because this document, these are Kenyans and these are sober Kenyans. And these are not people who say they are not mad. These are sober Kenyans, and these are not slow learners. These are people who understand what they're talking about. Therefore, we must give them a chance, because there's nobody who has superior views than anybody else. Therefore, all these governors, they have views. The deputy president has own views. And in future, Miriam, this document is not a rigid document. In future, it will be amended. Maybe at that time, they will include their views. And Miriam, if my memory is safe and is not corrupt, I feel like the deputy president was one person who was opposing the 2010 constitution, but he has not made it clear to Kenyans why he felt that the document is good now as he is the deputy president. But in 2010, he was opposing the document. He should also be telling us when all these things that they talked of was 20% that was not good, when it was rectified, so that we know there are some things that happen under the sea. There are some things that happen and the Kenyans don't know. Therefore, this is a process that is all-inclusive, Miriam. And Miriam, I hope this process, because it was all-inclusive, let all Kenyans go and make their decisions, Miriam. There's nobody who will be denied the right to vote. And Miriam, the same people have been telling us they have numbers and they have God. I think this is the time to make sure, to reveal to the world and to prove to the world that they have real numbers. These are not imaginary figures.
All right, and let's not try God. All right, very well. Thank you, Stephen Karanja there from 9 UK. Well, you've mentioned Deputy President was among the people who opposed the 2010 referendum, but now also a section of church leaders, rather that time also, opposed the referendum that gave us the new constitution that we're currently having. And during 2010 referendum, the issues, especially that the church were against, I think we voted for the constitution and they did not change. But now they're speaking and they're opposing the report in the BBI and the opinions that Kenyans gave to be included in the BBI. And what is very interesting, as I've been observing, is even when they come out to speak in these meetings and saying this is why we oppose the BBI, the issues that they had a problem with in 2010 that are still in the constitution, they don't bring up these matters anymore, and now they have a problem with other issues. Professor, am I missing a point here?
Yeah, Miriam, this is a good conversation and discussion we are having. Miriam, there were some animals which were created by God. They walk in the night. And in daytime, if they try to walk, they will be blind, they don't see. And there are some animals, Miriam, which God created, they walk in broad daylight. When the night comes, Miriam, they don't see. So each and every other person has to keep to their lane. They have to walk in the night, and this one walks in the night, in the day. Miriam, there are some people, even if you do what you want, you do, they will always oppose. I want to identify myself with Douglas. You cannot have 100 people, 100% people saying yes. And if they do, then Miriam, there's something wrong in that. And in Miriam, don't think, as we have been having this conversation in areas which they have been saying, Miriam, and we are doing editorial, we are trying to edit the document. I'm sure what they have raised will be edited. They must make it, they must be made very. So Miriam, what the church is doing and what the other side, Miriam, are doing, I find it very democratic. I have no quarrel with them. But Miriam, the question we need to ask, after the presidential election of 2017, Miriam, did we have a problem in our country? Yes. Was the country becoming so much polarized? Yes. Were people trying to secede from Kenya? Yes. Were there a section of this country, Miriam, where there was no presidential repeat election? where it was done in some part of this country? Yes. So then if Miriam, you are a leader and you are a president of a country, you worry. Here is a section, not only that they have rejected you through a vote, they have not voted. So you cannot say that was their democratic right. And that's why Miriam, the prime minister and the president, thought it wise that they come together. When they came together, Miriam, and let me tell you how a consensus is built. Because sometimes we use words and we don't understand what it means. Miriam, when the prime minister and the president, they came, they listened to each other and said our country is having a problem. They solicited ideas from each other. If our country is having a problem, Miriam, what do we do? They divined the problem, Miriam. When they divined the problem, Miriam, they came with 9-point agenda. This 9-point agenda, Miriam, has been with us for
Mm-hmm.
2 months.
2 years.
Not a year.
Mm-hmm.
2 years. You were so much concerned and you want Kenya to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
At least you could have gone to either one of them and say, you identified 9, I feel there should be a 10th one. And if it becomes, because we want to take this country progress ahead of us. You did not do that. Miriam, when the two principals came together, they acknowledged the strength of the other. Remember, Uhuru is having 3.3 million Kenyans, and the Prime Minister is having 8 million. You cannot ignore this person. Miriam, this person, if you want, it can cost you hell. You have heard the president giving a testimony himself that since there was an handshake, Miriam, he has been able to go some parts of the country where he was not going. So they acknowledge the strength of each other. Miriam, they have maintained each other's esteem. They call themselves brothers. I have heard Raila calling Uhuru my brother, and I've heard Uhuru calling Raila my brother. And I've heard someone whom they contested. The Prime Minister calls the President Mr. President. He calls him the President. He knows he's the President of the Republic of Kenya for the sake of taking the country forward. Miriam, they have been talking to each other. Yesterday, as we were discussing, Miriam, the Cabinet Secretary Interior and Devolution were together with the Prime Minister, meaning they are working together and we want to move forward, Miriam. I will go on and on. So when when you are an outsider, Miriam, which other conflict, Miriam, do we have with the Deputy President or the Takataka people? A consensus is built out of a conflict. Yes, you cannot come. No, what they want to say, Miriam, is we want to have an uncontested referendum. Mm-hmm. But again, it will lose a meaning of a referendum, Miriam. Mm-hmm. We must have those who are saying yes and no. And Miriam, let me tell you, those people who criticize you, implement what they are trying to criticize you. When they are saying no, you implement what they are against, and then you will have peace. That's how peace comes in. Mm-hmm. So Miriam, where we have reached, Miriam, the process must come to an end. As much as they have got good ideas, mm-hmm. the process must come to an end. Time is not on our side. Mm-hmm. COVID-19 has eaten 8 months. And Miriam, when you read Article 255, 254, 55, 256 of the Constitution, Miriam, it gives way for amendment. The Okoa, they started to amend, they did not succeed. Kurokoth started to amend, did not succeed. If they feel what they are saying is very fundamental, mm-hmm. they can as well correct signatures, make a referendum question, represent the people of Kenya. So Miriam, from where I sit, these people are not after consensus. In any event, there is no conflict between us and them. There has never been one. And we are not intending to have one, mm-hmm. because what the Prime Minister and the President wants to do is to have a united country.
All right.
So what I want to hear, Miriam, the church, mm-hmm. they represented their views.
In 2010.
The task force, the steering committee, Miriam. Miriam, a student, cannot do an exam. He hands over the paper and comes to the teacher and says, Mwarim, I forgot to write this, give me the paper back. Nobody can do that. So Miriam, time is not with us. Let us proceed. Kenyans are correcting their signatures. We are waiting for a referendum question, Miriam, and Kenyans are very anxious, Miriam. I'm one person who is very optimistic, Miriam, that if the referendum comes and no wins, still there will be Kenya. We have got a constitution. We are not dead. But the only problem, what will only happen, Miriam, here is we would have not taken Kenya into another level. I submit.
All right, very well. Douglas, Professor, they're saying you can only build consensus where there is conflict, and as far as he's concerned, there's not been any kind of form of conflict. But if I can remember very well, the process that have led to where the BBI process is today started with a handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and opposition leader Raila Odinga, and that has been something that Deputy President William Ruto has detested, has not liked, so that seems to have sort of put a rift between the president and his deputy. There was a bit of some cracks even before that handshake happened, but that just went ahead to expose some of perhaps the troubles that were in Jubilee Party there, because President Uhuru Kenyatta was uncomfortable with the early campaigns and all that. They had their own problems there in the Jubilee House before this handshake happened. But so we know there has been some bad blood from the deputy president's side, because he's saying, I was not included, I was not part of it. But President Uhuru Kenyatta the other day came out and said, no, you're not being honest, because I told you, I called you, I've let you know. In fact, you submitted a few names to the steering committee of the BBI, so you cannot sit here and lie to Kenyans and say you were not included in this process. But there seems to be a bit of a conflict, but coming, I think, from the deputy president's side there. So when they're coming out and saying now, we were at consensus, because I've seen a few politicians, especially allied to Deputy President William Ruto, saying BBI is supposed to be building bridges. Please stop with the walls. Are they honest in that regard? Douglas. Do you have Douglas?
Miriam, the Deputy President is not sincere. We all know that in politics, if you want to speak to someone, you can send your people or you can speak directly. The Deputy President has been sending people around to speak for and on his behalf. And we all know that. The newspapers put it clear out there. The professor himself can know when the Deputy President has sent his people. They are talking about a consensus on something that they don't agree. I want to agree with the point that you put across yesterday. If I am not supporting a line of thought, there is no way I can say, in conclusion, I need a consensus on the line of thought that I don't support. The Deputy President of this republic does not support the BBI process. Why? We have seen the former Senate Majority Leader, Kipchumba Murkomen, go on rampage, on TVs, on churches, everywhere. He's gone, including on his Twitter account. They would say in the morning, they need a consensus. At noon, they need something else. In the evening, they are opposing this thing, and they want the BBI report.
Yes.
They want the BBI report to have a consensus at the end of the day, so that the views of Kenyans will be included. Again, at midnight, they would wake up and say, no, we want to stop everything about BBI and concentrate on COVID. And at the end of the day, Miriam, it does not work like that. One morning, BBI report is being talked about consensus. The next morning, the DP is tweeting on his verified Twitter account and saying we should stop every shenanigan about BBI report and concentrate on COVID and fight it with every resource. I want to ask you, Mr. Deputy President, since the things that you have been doing around this country, you have stopped them. Channel that money, and how much are you willing to contribute to the COVID fund to fight this pandemic from your personal resources? The government has done itself a good favor, and also it has outdone itself, Mr. Deputy President. And stop your people from contradicting themselves, Miriam. Every morning, the Deputy President is talking about consensus. in churches, in barrios. He's talking about consensus on roadsides. He's actually saying the views of hustlers should be included in the BBI report, in the line of thought, which is the BBI process that he doesn't support. In the evening, Kipchumba Murkomen is saying we are wasting government resources, putting them into BBI process. Miriam, the same people at midnight, they would wake up and say, now we need to stop these things about consensus and stop everything and concentrate on the emergency that has come, which is COVID-19. Miriam, there is no goodwill in these people. Professor can agree with me. Sean can agree with me. Yourself, Miriam, can agree with me. These people have no clear roadmap on where they are going. All I'm asking them is that come out, please, my friends. Come out from cocoons. Come out from your caves. Let's meet at the ballot and let's vote this thing in the morning. Let's see who is the winner and who is the loser. And when you lose, Mr. Deputy President, you are not a Raisa Kenyan. You lost in 2010. You're going to lose again. Why? Because there's no clear roadmap from your end. You are talking 1 minute about a consensus, Mr. Professor. They're talking about a consensus in the morning. In the evening, they are saying stop everything and look on COVID. We agree we have a very unique medical emergency that has occurred in this country, but that does not stop this country from thinking about its problem. For example, if something comes into my house, a snake comes into my house, my wife or my girlfriend or whoever it is cannot stop cooking because a snake has come into my house. So COVID has come, but we cannot stop the BBI process from going on. So the Mr. Deputy President, who is the elected Deputy President alongside Mr. Uhuru Kenyatta, support President Uhuru Kenyatta and his brother, the right Prime Minister Raila Odinga. All, you form your own camp as you formed it well in government. You are minister when you led the no campaign in 2010. Nobody asked you, nobody will rang you, Mr. Deputy President. And if you talk about COVID, please, Mr. Deputy President, contribute into that fund. All the monies that you've been taking to Harambee, contribute into that fund. We saw the donation from Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Put your own there. Let us fight COVID. Let us pass the BBI process. And if it's not going to pass, well and good, we will accept and fight another day. If you lose, Mr. Deputy President, well and good.
Okay,
Kenya moves on, Mr. Deputy President. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. Douglas Kirimi, thank you so much. There's something it just makes my head spin. You brought up that tweet by Deputy President William Ruto, and it was quoted here on the front pages, and we talked about it early in the morning, saying COVID-19 is clearly ravaging our nation with alarming increases in infections and deaths. We should stop everything and mobilize every human, material, and financial resource to fight it. And as a Kenyan, I got offended, and not just him, and we're responding to him because he's the one who tweeted. Even those rallies that other people, even allied to the BB and all that had, that Kenyans were not protected, even those, they were wrong, period. But right now, I hope even the town halls they'll be having, they will ensure that anybody who is present in those meetings are actually adhering to the measures. They have social distancing and they have masks. Please, anybody who will be engaging with the public must ensure that is happening. But we've seen what has been happening in the past. And these rallies that Deputy President led a lot of them, where even himself did not adhere to these measures. And he is one of the key people that helped in the spread of COVID-19 in this country. So for him to come out right now with this load of hypocrisy, Deputy President, when it comes to matters COVID-19, please have several seats. I don't want to hear from him at all. Him and other political leaders, I don't care which divide they come from, they need to sit down because they were very careless, they were very reckless, and they put a lot of lives of Kenyans in danger, and they did not care about that. So I don't want to hear him addressing matters COVID-19 at all. Let him talk about BB and other things, but that one he needs to stop and apologize to Kenyans. That's it.
Miriam,
that's it.
Just a minute. The Deputy President has been greeting people all over, talking to people and having extraordinary crowds. He believes in so much crowds. You would greet people everywhere, no mask, no nothing. You rub they'll mob him. You rub their shoulders. You
That's
rub
what I'm
them.
saying. Now
all
it's telling
manner
us
of
to stop
things in
everything.
public media.
I don't want to
the
hear
same
that
Deputy
coming
President
from him.
would tweet in the morning and say that we need to fight COVID. Why is he not fighting COVID? We've never seen him in Meru, where I am now. We've never seen him on a mask.
COVID-19. What does it take Kenyans for? Deputy President, you have been on the forefront of helping the spread of COVID-19. You have no right. Please sit down. Don't talk about COVID at all. Talk about other things, all right? Because this has been a concern, and we've been talking about it here every day on our show since the first case was reported on COVID-19, and we've been trying to say how these rallies, have been a source of, a spread of the COVID, and you and other politicians continue to flaunt the rules and flaunt the measures with impunity, and now you're going to tell us now we need to stop everything else because our focus needs to be on COVID-19. Really? No, not from you, sir. All right, let's just move on. That really, as a Kenyan, I don't like that level of hypocrisy. I mean, just stop it. Just stop it. But anyway, we've seen our Daniel, our church leaders in 2010. There are a couple of sections of the Constitution they did not support, all right? And that never changed. The Constitution was voted. We have the new Constitution. And now they're coming up and they're having other issues. Very interestingly, I've been following their concerns, but they're not bringing up the issues that they had a problem with during the 2010 promulgation of the new Constitution. And now we see what is happening, and also the things that Kirimi has said there in the morning. We want consensus in the afternoon. This process is too expensive for Kenyans. In the evening, I don't know what else is happening. This shifting of goalposts, I mean, what is really happening here? Daniel.
Miriam, that tells you that our church and the civil society and the opposition parties are always an easy target when it comes to the bait that is dangled by the NGO money, which is meant to oppose the powers that be at that particular time. Because at that time in 2010, it was President Mwai Kibaki at the helm of leadership together with Right Honorable Raila Odinga. And these people, the church, including even William Ruto also, they vehemently oppose the constitutional changes, and they want us to maintain the status quo. And therefore, that constitution has been guiding us for the last 10 years. And if they are opposing the changes that we want to make right now, they should tell us also that, okay, this is the document that we opposed in 2010, and we opposed it for this and that reasons. Therefore, as you go to change and improve it in this particular way, also remember that in 2010, we had certain reservations about this constitution that we might want you also to look at it. But now coming on the table and telling us that the 2010 constitution is the most efficient document that we will ever have, and we need to make to delete even a sentence or a letter from it, then that is the height of hypocrisy. And it tells you that these are just a conduit for foreign donors, foreign NGOs, foreign instigators of violence and mayhem that use the church and the NGOs and the opposition parties to derail the governments of the day's agenda. So to me, I think the church is lacking some kind of genuineness. It is being dishonest in its claims. And I think it is all political. When you look at it from its outlook, it's all political machination. And perhaps the church, if they are so much hell-bent to oppose these constitutional amendment, as Douglas says, let them just go ahead and do it. Because at the end of the day, Miriam, I believe the church is not going to support these constitutional amendments through the BBI. And those who are pushing for the consensus, what if after all spending maybe even 3 months doing the consensus thing, what if now it fails? It means that time will be limited for the BBI report to be implemented. We shall not have even time to collect signatures because we are still engaging some people on consensus. So therefore, Miriam, I think these people, they lack consistency. They lack a very clear roadmap, as Douglas says, because if they had that, they will be telling us these are the issues that we had a problem with in 2010, and we want them also looked into it. And also in these new proposed amendments, these are the issues that we have a problem with them. So let's look at it. And also they will not have done it at this particular point. You remember we had the BBI draft 1, and then this is the final one that is coming out. They would have done during that time of validation is when they will have appeared with their views and told the steering committee to include them in the document itself. So to me, Miriam, those are just people masquerading and buying their time. At the end of it all, they are going to oppose the BBI report.
Karanja, is there a reason why our church leaders are not bringing up the same issues they brought in the 2010 constitution, which was what passed anyways, and now there seems to be having a set of other issues they want to address, but the ones that really made them vote no in 2010, that is not a bone of contention anymore. Is there a reason as to why that is so?
One thing that, Miriam, we must come to that issue from a different angle. Maybe in 2010, what made them oppose the document was not from their hearts, but maybe from a kind of a force. Maybe something was forcing them to do that, maybe somebody. But when you see them, for the last 10 years, the issues that they were talking of, contentious issues, we have been with this document for the last 10 years, and those issues have not played big. We have not seen those issues. They were talking of abortion being legalized and some other issues, and the Kenyans have been moving on. Therefore, they were talking from a point of hearsay. They were not talking from a point of knowledge or a point of reading the document to understand and to comprehend what was in the document. Therefore, they are just used as a microphone, because the purpose of using a microphone or these other instruments to magnify or to amplify your sound, they are just say what you are saying. Therefore, these people, they are just used to amplify or to say things that other people maybe are saying, so that maybe from the church, the members of the church, because you understand in this country, we have 80% of the people in this country as Christians. Therefore, maybe they think maybe from the church leaders, maybe the congregation will have and will buy that kind of message. We saw it in 2010, they opposed. And a big churches, they opposed their document. But contrary to that, a majority of their members voted for the document. Therefore, we must understand that whether the church supported, the church members and the Christians, they are independent thinkers. These are people who make their own decision at the ballot, will not be influenced by their church leader, maybe one or two, but majority of the people in this country, where we are million people, are able to read, to comprehend, to understand, and to make a decision based from a point of knowledge and a point of understanding. And Miriam, the issues that they are raising now, these are the issues. These are not the issues they raised in 2010. Therefore, these people are not consistent. They are not. They don't know what they stand for. Because if you stand for something in 2010 and that thing have not changed, Miriam, you ought to continue standing for that thing, because a person or an individual is characterized. Character is what defines them. Because you cannot be changing today, tomorrow you are this. That is, you end up being called a watermelon, and that is not what we want our church leaders to be referred to. And Miriam, the issues they are raising now, these are not genuine issues. In fact, the issues they are raising now, these are not issues that affect the church. These are issues that are more in the political arena. And Miriam, maybe for the time that we have and seeing the church leaders, most of them, they are politicians. Most of them, they are just in the church to hide some of these things. But deep inside, they play politics. That is why you find even these people who go for Harambes, they target specific churches. They don't go for all churches, because there are some churches which will not buy that kind of agenda. That is why you find there are some churches which are aligned to some political outfit. And that is why Miriam was saying maybe last week that when you look at this church, the church is not speaking with one voice. There is a church that is supporting the BBI, and there is a church that is opposing the document. Therefore, these churches, these two voices from the church, this makes it clear that we don't have a church that stands for principles. We don't have a church that stands for something. And they have eroded the moral authority that they had in times of Timothy Joya, when they could stand and fight for social injustices. Miriam, now we have seen things happening in this country, but we have never seen these churches coming out vibrantly to fight the issues of corruption, the social injustice, police brutality. But they are silent. They are now coming in, trying to hide in some cocoons that they are not here or there. They should say they are for no. Nobody will beat them. Nobody will ask them questions. They will come out and say, they declare and say, we are not in the gray area. We support and we move on. But Miriam, this is not the whole church. Miriam, let us make clear, these are part of the church. Because if we make to look like it's the whole church, then maybe some Kenyans might understand that even their church is opposing the document.
Okay.
And then moving forward, Miriam, we have big issues in this country. That is elections and corruption and unfair distribution of resources. Those three things, for me, those are things that are ailing this nation. Because at the end of the day, there are some communities, like where Professor and Keremi comes from. These are communities that are not the big tribes. It will take 100 years, a century, or many years to come for them to produce maybe a deputy president or a prime minister. And now through this document, we are creating a favorable environment where we'll have even the minority tribes producing bigger people in the bigger offices in this nation. Therefore, this will bring a sense of inclusivity. This will bring a sense of togetherness, and Kenyans will start feeling like they are part and parcel of this process. To me, that is something that is ailing this nation. Because if we have that kind of an outlook, even the issue of tribalism will be solved, because at the end of the day, we'll not have to combine two tribes to produce a president. People will now start focusing on the ideology part of it, and the people will start coming with political parties that stand for manifestos, that stand for an ideology that you can define. But as it is now, because of tribalism and ethnic and community politics, that is why we don't have political parties that stand for something or concrete agenda. They only stand for the issues of tribe. Right. And through this BBI, I'm seeing a scenario where in the future and in the long term, we will have political parties that stand for ideological kind of agenda. And that is the way we want to build our country. We cannot build a country that is divided all the time. Let's unite and form a country. That is where the church should be concentrating on, because that is the issues that affect the people of Kenya.
All right, very well. Thank you so much, Nimrod Mbundi Mwitari. Thank you so much for watching us this morning and wondering what hypocrisy on the DP's part. What we were terming as hypocrisy is the part that he now realizes that COVID-19 is a serious problem in this country, when we've been having COVID-19 since March, and now it just occurred to him that now all the attention, all the efforts, all the human resource, all the money should not be focused on COVID-19. And this is where we find it to be a bit hypocritical, Nimrod. He has been on the forefront in the spread of COVID-19, all right, with those rallies, and not just him, other political leaders too. And the reason why we are responding to the DP is because he tweeted about this. And I find that tweet to be very hypocritical and to be very offensive to the number of Kenyans who attended those rallies and contracted COVID-19, and others have since died. And now he's coming out and he's trying to advise us on how to handle COVID-19 when he could not even show up for the COVID-19 convention. You understand where the hypocrisy is coming from? If you don't, then we have a bigger problem in our hands. Now, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei said it was unfortunate that the plan to subject the document to a referendum had started even before Kenyans had read and understood it. He's quoted as saying, "The BBI document hasn't been circulated to all Kenyans to read and understand it comprehensively. Why the hurry, intimidation and blackmail on this process? It looks mischievous," he added. Professor, does he have a point?
Miriam, even if you are a slow runner, the below average student in a class, this document has been with us. Honestly, for how long will you take to read this document, Miriam? Kalonzo was trying to suggest, and then the Deputy Prime Minister said, "Oh, it's with the science people, they are slow thinkers, they are so whatnot." So, Miriam, that was his response, that they needed time to read. Miriam, let me just have this to say, and it reminded me to have BBI 1 and BBI 2 now. What happened to BBI 1, Miriam? Did the Deputy President and these people support it? Was the issue of the Prime Minister and everything else inside there? What's in the BBI 2, Miriam, is validation. Nothing new has been introduced. Kenyans who are being asked, is this what you said has been captured? And whatever was not captured, Miriam, it has been made very clear. And we have said, Miriam, that where editorial, where people are having problem in understanding, Miriam, we can simplify it in simple terms that everybody understands, Miriam.
I'm telling you, Miriam, from where I sit, and I'm happy that the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister have made that decision now, that we have to correct signatures. Mm-hmm. The referendum question is being worked on. The signatures will be taken to IBC for verification. Miriam, even Jarage is talking about this senator. The senators and members of parliament, Miriam, who are invited to Naivasha. Why didn't they go? Why did they go? And even if they think that they could not go, why can't they assemble themselves, they go to Naivasha and invite these experts to take them through? So Miriam, from where I sit and from my fellow panelists, I don't see a gesture, a good gesture, goodwill from these people from the Tanga side. In any event, Miriam, what annoys me, Miriam, is they are trying to critique the views which other Kenyans have given. Where are their views? Mm-hmm. Where are their views? Saying that this is what we presented to the committee, they did not capture. Then, Miriam, from there we can have a conversation. And I've said, Miriam, let me tell you, time has come for us to talk to each other, not at each other. Time has come. Miriam, how will you change? How will you change? How will your views be captured if you are tweeting? How will your views be captured if you are talking in the street, Miriam? How will your views be captured, Miriam, if you are talking from the funeral? You go to mourn and console the family, and you go to talk politics. How? Who is going to take those views, Miriam?
Well,
so time is up. I can see Jarage is not very sincere. He's a person who can be taken like a read. So go to BBI 1 and see what it reads, what they said, they supported it, what has gone wrong now. Miriam, and from where I sit, and I've said, and I want to keep on hammering this. Miriam, these people are in 2022. Someone who is already in 2022, how do we engage? How do we discuss? Let them just, after 2022, they will start their own engagement, Miriam. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of hypocrisy, dishonest from this other team. Mm-hmm. Here, like even the deputy president tweeting about COVID-19, yes, he might be talking the truth. Miriam, I'm very happy. They have stolen the money, I'm not. He was happy when the money for the people of Kenya is being stolen. I'm not in it. They would have said to me. Miriam is very happy when he's giving Mokongoten and the wheelbarrows, and we are having a national convention. His chair being placed there, Miriam. Miriam, I cannot understand. I cannot understand. Yeah. We have seen what he has done. In fact, Miriam, the political class from both sides, they are the ones who have contributed to the second wave of COVID-19.
Absolutely, absolutely, and for our viewers, yeah.
This Mas Barasa, you heard them say, in Yoma too, and you heard me saying, our own elected member of parliament, the honorable member of parliament, you speak, and the children and everybody else is listening to you. Nasema wamekula pesa ya corona, wamefanya nini? Hii ilikuwa homa tu. Even Miriam, there's a clip which is trending on for the member of parliament, former member of parliament, the rates. Just us. He could say, Raila, hakuna Wakikuyu, elders kutoka huko, yani hii William Yendi anasambaza corona. Very unfortunate. He has succumbed to it. He has come to it. Sorry, Miriam. So, Miriam, I am one man. If they have got their views, and I know they are, I am one who can shout loudest, Miriam, when you have got a case. Miriam, when you are speaking the truth, even if I don't like you, I will never deny you from speaking the truth. If their concerns is valid, Miriam, like now someone talks about the judicial, Miriam, where the president goes, the deputy president goes to complain. Miriam, Kenyans are complaining that when they go to court, Miriam, the charges are being bought. They complain to the Judicial Service Commission, Miriam, nothing is being done. And now we are coming with a formula perhaps where Kenyans can be able to complain. That I know my case was not lost. And now you are saying, Miriam, there is no way, Miriam, you can just think you are president, the head of state, the president is your equal. He goes in Kenya to contest and get the mandate of people. Even among the three institutions of government, Miriam, the person who has got mandate of the people of Kenya is the president. A member of parliament has got a mandate of the people of a constituency. But the president goes the entire Kenya, Miriam, convincing Kenyans, give me this, I will be able to do this. He has got a manifesto which he implements, and we agree with him. And you tell him that he cannot appoint. And we have got checks and balances, Miriam. We have had cases where the president has nominated someone and has been rejected by parliament. So this idea of being simplistic, they're saying that, oh, the president is going to control. Miriam, does the president not even appoint some people to the judiciary? When you have been appointed to an institution, Miriam, you go to serve the people of Kenya. You want to tell me that, Miriam, there are no people who support the opposition and they work for the government of Kenya? When you go to the office, they serve people for the opposition or people for the government. Miriam, once you have entered office and you have taken oath, you become the servant of the people of Kenya. Even members of parliament, both of Jubilee and the opposition, Miriam, they are supposed to oversight the government. You cannot say now, me, I'm from the ruling class, the ruling party, I cannot oversight. No, your work is to legislate, your work is to represent, your work is to oversight. So all the appointments which are going to be made by the president will be vetted by the members of the National Assembly. So this propaganda, Miriam, and I want to tell you, Miriam, the sooner we start saying that, oh, these are propaganda, the better, Miriam. There is no honest from the people of this side who are asking for consensus. I like the way Douglas is putting. In the morning they are saying this. Lunch time, they are praying 5 times like the Muslims.
Well,
the morning you are having something, in the midday you are having something, at the 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock you are having something, at 6 o'clock in the evening, midnight again,
it's confusing.
They are having something else.
It's very much
confusing. They speak both sides of the mouth.
All right.
Let them just bring their issues. If we find them very genuine, Miriam, who will review a good idea to make a better idea? Who will?
All right. So Uasin Gishu, Women Representative Gladys Bosholei said that rushing the process confirmed that there was a scheme by the proponents of the BBI to force constitutional changes on Kenyans. Sholei said the BBI process has been reduced to a process. I'm reading from the Standard, today's Standard, page 7. Ruto Ali's one hurried report stopped. So she said that the BBI process has been reduced to a process to unite two individuals, that is President Uhuru Kenyatta and an ODM leader party, Raila Odinga. And the other proposals in the report are meant to escort the main agenda, which is to create the position of prime ministers and 2 deputies. She told the Standard on the phone. Now, Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi said views expressed by Ruto in Bomas during the launch of the BBI report last month had been ignored. All right. Okay, BBI committee will ignore a deputy president's views. So Sudi said proponents of the BBI process only want to trigger a contest between the president and his deputy and destroy the Jubilee party. We don't want a yes and no campaign, but if other views will not be given room, then we will not be allowed to we will not allow anyone to force us to support it. So let's just look at that second part of Oscar Sudi, a statement there when he said that the proponents of the BBI process only want to trigger a contest between the president and his deputy and destroy the Jubilee party. Douglas.
Miriam, I've been waiting for that part. Let me also include the Shorei's part. How are Kenyans being forced the BBI process on them, whereas this thing has taken more than 2 years, including us young people? We cannot woo a woman for over 2 years. We cannot, because this is a democratic country and Kenya is a good country. We've been here for 2 years. Shorei, Madam Shorei, you are an hypocrite. You are reading from the front, doing all manner of shenanigans, and you are just an hypocrite, madam. Why are you saying Kenyans are being forced the BBI process on them? Nobody is forcing the BBI process on Kenyans. The BBI process has been here for over 2 years. Round 1, round 2, we cannot continue this way. We need to cross this chapter and Kenya needs to move forward. Kenya needs to go beyond where we are today. And remember, we have temporal peace in this country. People can do things they want in this country. People can insult the president. People can do all manner of things and all that. Why? Because we are a democratic country and we are enjoying so much peace in this country. This is the only country that I have seen people come and hijack a process and say they need a consensus and all manner of things. So, Madam Shorey, we want to answer you in a very simple and precise way that no one is forcing the BBI process on Kenyans. And Mr. Sudi, you are known to be opposing BBI process every morning. You would do press conferences from your Kapseret home. And every day when you do those press conferences, you would be opposing BBI process. And this contest is not even a question of if it is going to happen. It's a question of when, Mr. Sudi. So if you guys are afraid of a contest of no and yes campaign, and the deputy president has been fighting the president since 2017. Mr. Sudi, that is not what you want. You don't want to tell Kenyans. You've been working on a 2022 presidential bid when Kenyatta is working to grow this country and move this country forward. You've been talking about how you are going to vote for him as the president in 2022, inheriting the president where he is on a seat. We need Kenya to move forward, Mr. Sudi. And whatever you're trying to allude today is not the correct thing. Kenyans, and the BBI process is not a process to pit the president and the deputy president. This thing is beyond Mr. Kenyatta and Mr. Ruto. So, Mr. Sudi, we want to answer you very clearly. There is nothing about Ruto in the BBI report. It's a process of over 47 million Kenyans, Mr. Sudi. So this BBI process cannot be subjected with our taxes. Something that Mr. President can wake up in the morning or Mr. Ruto can wake up with a press conference and say, stop fighting me, and then we can know which is which. We cannot reduce the BBI process, which is a national healing process, into a two-man contest. The president is the president of the Republic of Kenya and the end of state. We cannot reduce him into a two-man show, Mr. Sudi. We have known you to be a showmanship. You have shown your showmanship around, and you are just a showman. We cannot reduce the president and the deputy president into a contest that involves the 47 million Kenyans. Why would the BBI steering committee move across the country, correcting the views of Kenyans?
Mm-hmm. All right, very well. Seems to.
Yes, and maybe Miriam, just to maybe add the icing on the cake, I believe Sholei is quite misguided, because the BBI report was formed on a very, very strong foundation of a conversation. And that is why they held, the task force held more than 93 public forums where young people, women, special interest groups, and various sector leaders in religion, education, as well as corporate, are able to appear before the committee to submit their views. And therefore, it is a process which is deemed to have captured the views, aspirations, and the opinions of Kenyans from all diversities in these across the country. And they also accepted the email submissions as well as the written memoranda at their office. So therefore, the question of whether the BBI report is being imposed to Kenyans or not, I think on that one, Gladys Bosholei is a bit disillusioned. And also, Miriam, you know, we understand that at long last, whether the BBI report, they fail to agree on a consensus, or maybe we proceed and go to the ballot. It's again upon Kenyans who submitted their views to the BBI task force will be the last deciding factor at the ballot box, because we shall be able to vote whether we want these recommendations to go ahead and be implemented in our constitution, or we will want them to be rejected through a no vote. So everything starts and ends with the Kenyan people. We have a free will. We have a clear conscience when going to vote this, and therefore we are the drivers of this agenda. Number two, on Oscar Sudi, I believe the disagreement between the president and the deputy president only stems from the defiance that the deputy president has been projecting in terms of accepting to work with the president to concentrate on the Big Four agenda and be able to deliver on his legacy. That has been the bone of contention in the working between the deputy president and the president himself. They have never agreed on any political basis, but they are only disagreed in terms of development and ideology for Kenyans, to give prosperity to Kenyans, where the president is so much focused on delivering on his agenda and leave a legacy come 2022. But the deputy is so much determined to champion his 2022 cause. And all having been said and done, Miriam, I believe this is an internal party issue, which Oscar Sudi knows well that it could be solved quite adequately within the corridors of the Jubilee Party, and therefore he should not bring an internal party issue to display it as a national issue, as Douglas says. Let BBI work for Kenyans. Jubilee Party and its leadership can be able to solve their own internal issues on their own. That is my take, Miriam.
All right, well, Karanja, the Sudi said proponents of the BBI process only want to trigger a contest between the president and his deputy and destroy the Jubilee Party. And,
Miriam,
the DP is not even... Let me just finish that. Let me just finish that part of what he said. He said, we don't want a yes and no campaign, but if other views will not be given room, then we will not allow anyone to force us to support it. And just two parts of that thoughts there by Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi, saying that the people who want for it to be a contested referendum only wants to create a bigger rift between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, and on the other side is saying Kenyans will not be forced. And that's why maybe you should not be having a consensus referendum, because if you have a consensus referendum, it will be assuming that all of Kenyans, 47 plus million of us, have all agreed. And we started by saying, even if our political class and the people who are raising issues with some of the articles contained in the BBI were to agree and everything will be factored in, I'm sure there's a Kenyan somewhere who would sit and feel, no, I still have a problem with this. I would have loved to see this, and this was not included. So they should be allowed an opportunity to put their voice forth by voting no or yes for those who will be supporting that. So even if all views were to be captured, not all of us will be in agreement with that. And for those who will not be in agreement with the BBI, should be allowed the opportunity to say, no, we are not agreeing to that process. So for him coming out to say we need a consensus at the same time, we will not be forced. I mean, is this not doublespeak?
Miriam, exactly. And I don't know whether it's by coincidence that you have started with Cherali Gay, then you went to Gladys Bose-Cholet, and then
I'm just reading from the papers.
Oscar Sudi. These people happen to come from the same region. Yeah. And the problem they have is not the document. Miriam, if you can read what they are saying, the problem is not the document, the problem is not the proposals in the document, the problem is because William Ruto views are not included. That is the problem they have. And I want to remind them that nobody has superior views in this process of changing the constitution. And we had 2 years to go and take their proposals. They didn't. When the people who are collecting these views were in Eldoret, I didn't see Oscar Sudi or Gladys Bose-Cholet in those forums. Therefore, this is hypocritical. And when he says that the process want to divide the Jubilee, and Miriam, we saw them the other day hijacking the Jubilee Pangani headquarters when the president was away from the country. We saw them going there doing all manner of things and trying to say that they came to do whatever. And we understand the Deputy Secretary General comes from the same region. These are issues they can deal with. He can talk with Caleb Kostani, and maybe they can talk of matter of the Jubilee Party. Miriam, we have seen, and from 2017, the president agenda was to bring development and to unite the people of Kenya. But the deputy president is the one who have been creating all these lifts that we see in Jubilee government. He's the one who have been opposing the president. There is no day that we saw. In fact, Miriam, the president gave the deputy president a rare privilege to go around the country commissioning the project, national projects. But Miriam, you know what? He ended up building his name around those projects. He ended up portraying president as one man who is not working. In fact, he concentrated more in Mount Kenya region and Western Kenya, and he went there portraying president as a man who is sleeping, a man who does not know his call, a man who does not know his mandate. And unfortunately, when the president wakes up, this is when this confusion started. And the president, and I think the deputy president, to some extent, he thought he was a co-president, and to some point he wanted to look like the boss. To some extent, he adorated the president, and that is why all this confusion that he has now, because he have realized that this thing, the president is still the man who is in office, and I need to wait until I take my my responsibility. Miriam, if we listen, and in 2017, Miriam, and this matter of Jubilee, and I remember the president called them, and they went for a PG in State House. And it is categorical, and a member of parliament, a lot of them have reiterated this statement, that the president urged the deputy president in front of all those members and senators that they first work for the people of Kenya. Then in 2022, the president will be the one leading the campaign to ensure that the deputy president is elected as the president of Republic of Kenya. Therefore, in the part of the president in all his honesty, and he is a trustworthy person, he was eager even to see the deputy president becoming the president of this Republic of Kenya, if Kenyans agreed and voted for him. Therefore, there's nothing much. It's the deputy president who thought through the handshake that his wings were being flipped. He thought like through this handshake, he would not see the State House. And that was not the case. The case was to unite the Kenyans. And I think, Miriam, we need to have leaders who will go beyond their political interest to some point of and look at the interest of the people of Kenya. Right. It's the people of Kenya who suffer after violence that erupts in election. It's the people of Kenya who suffered when we had demonstrations in Nairobi. It is the small-scale traders that they call hustlers that suffered when we had those demonstrations in Nairobi and other major towns. Therefore, if they care for the people of Kenya and the hustlers that they purport to represent, then this is an opportunity to ensure that they are safe. And on the issue of Gladys Boss-Sholai saying that the BBI is about the two principles. Miriam, in 2013, when the president approached I don't know whether they approached each other, but how it came out, both of them, they came together. This is after a very bad experience that happened between the two communities. But president came together and they had a handshake with the president. And these people, they didn't complain. They were silent and they were jubilating. In 2007, when Baba and when Raila Odinga, the former prime minister, was supported by the deputy president, they didn't complain. And now, Miriam, we have reached the point now we are talking of national conversation. This is not a tribal or a regional conversation. This is a conversation about the people of Kenya. And we don't want a repeat of what happened in 2007. And that was achieved after the president came together with the deputy president in 2013 and 2017. We didn't see a lot of things happening in the Rift Valley region. Now the problem was these other people in opposition. This is where we had the problem. And the president invited them, bearing in mind William Ruto was a supporter who voted for president to be making decisions on behalf of state decision on his behalf. Therefore, he should have followed suit and supported what the president is doing. In fact, he was part of the process. Therefore, all this manner of hypocrisy that they are trying to create at this moment, they should also understand that this is not a regional process. This is a process about Kenyans. And the president in his capacity, if he was able to bring the deputy president on board, what makes them think that it's bad to bring the former prime minister on board so that we have an all-inclusive country, an all-unified nation, a country that has equitable shared resources? That is the best thing to do because all Kenyans deserve to be treated equally. And that is exactly what the document is doing. And then finally, the president didn't go there in handshake as Uhuru Kenyatta. He went there as a president of Republic of Kenya, who was supported by the deputy president. Therefore, he represented also the deputy president in that meeting. The former prime minister came there as the NASA principal, as presidential candidate who lost the election, who gained around 6 million, more than 6 million votes. Therefore, he represented the likes of Musalia Mudavadi, Kalonzo Musyoka, and all that NASA coalition and the people who voted for them. These are people who had followers, and when they came together, they presented the views and the people who voted them. Therefore, That is what exactly transpired, and that is why we have the BBI, because it was out of peace process, and this is a healing process to ensure all Kenyans are included. Therefore, we should not reduce this document to be a regional or a community-based document.
All right, very well. So, of course, there, as we said, a Kapseret member of parliament in the paper, a Standard newspaper, said views expressed by Ruto in Bomas during the launch of the BBI report last month had been ignored. And I think there were formal channels by which all parties were supposed to be handing over their views and opinions to the BBI steering committee. But Kapseret member of parliament, Professor, seems to be having a problem because he's saying the views and, of course, that Deputy President put forth during the second launch of the BBI, the second report, they were not captured, and he would have wanted that to be included there. And yesterday, I said that perhaps I will repeat that. In logic and critical thinking,
Miriam,
there's something called reasoning. There's something called an argument. Yes.
Ukwe na nguo zimeraruka, tattered clothes, rather than having akili imeraruka. There's nothing we can do. Miriam, honest. When let me just connect this one from Sore Miriam. One man can take a horse to the river to drink water, but 100 cannot force it to drink. If they think PPI process, which has been brought to them and is being forced on them, let them just shoot it down. Simple. Let them just prepare their troops, Miriam. At Bomas, and just sometimes, Miriam, I find it so difficult to answer Oscar Sudi, because he may not even get what I'm telling him. Why? At Bomas, Miriam, we were launching the report. Even the deputy president himself, he got it himself. I did say from here, and remember, Miriam, I said that he should not go there. And if he should go there, he should keep quiet. He went there starting to say he's not agreeing on. Miriam, let me tell you, to be very honest, I personally, I don't agree with some of the recommendations which has been put in the BBI. That is very, very honest. But there are some which are taking Kenya forward. I support. We can't make 100% document, Miriam. We are not God. We are not angels. So, Miriam, from the other side, if you see, even the way I've seen in the social media, Kina Duare saying watanguza, wacha wangushe, wakiangusha nini kwani Kenya ita stop. And even if they are talking about that this is reducing the competition between the president and the deputy president, they are competing over what? President Uhuru is going home. And I will urge him, if the BBI goes through, he should consider serving the people of Kenya as a prime minister. I want to be like another story. Why? Because if Kenyans feel that he should serve them, they are the people of Kenya to decide, Miriam. And we are going to make the constitution. We cannot exonerate him. So, Miriam, there's no single day, and I want to be avoidance of doubt. I will not support William Ruto. If you have heard him saying that he will not support William Ruto, please help me. He only hinted at the Bomas. He was very honest that he wanted to give the baton to the deputy president William Ruto. But what did William Ruto do? He became impatient. He came for the baton, and when he got the baton, he started running. There was a wrong direction, Miriam, not going front. And Miriam, hear this. If there is any man who has undermined the president in the history of this country, and I wish President Uhuru Kenyatta was like the late Jerry Lawrence. You know, one day he beat his deputy president in the public. Because the president is doing this, he is saying this, he's doing this, he's doing this. He went around this country, Miriam, launching ghost projects. Anasema hii tumepeana, hiyo tumepeana. And they know very well the money has not been allocated in the budget. What do you think those people are going to think of the president? And as Chairman Karajas is saying, he even went to the areas of the president and said, hiyo barabara tutachenga, akirudi huko kuambia mimi niliwaji na rais akakataa Miriam. What kind of undermining is that? But the President Uhuru Kenyatta being a nice guy. And by the way, I interact with so many Kenyans both internationally and locally. President Uhuru Kenyatta is a good man. And I want to retaliate Miriam, if you just get this number and you have a problem and you text him, he will pay you out. You saw the other day how he helped Ronald Mambo Mbatera. That's what our Kenyans do. You don't just go on being very cheap, Miriam. Miriam, if you have got the likes of Oscar Songo, Oscar Sudi, where will you reach? And you want the president of this country. If you have got this Soray, who stole from the judiciary and was sacked and charged in court, and remember our court cases go round and round. So Miriam, let them stop lecturing to us. Nobody's opposing each other or forcing them to support the document. I have said 100 men will never force a cow which has been taken to the river to drink. Hata muipiga, hata mufanya nini, haitakunywa hiyo maji. Itakataa. But one man ataipembeleza mpaka ifikise kwa mtoni, Miriam. So Miriam, nobody is going to force Kenya to pass this document if they don't believe in it. That is how serious and how democratic we are. Miriam, let me tell you, this BBI process has been very consultative in the history making of the constitution in this country. Not even the one for Bomas was as consultative as this one. Everyone is asking, it is not very clear to us. So Miriam, the point where we have reached, we are having only at 11 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. It is very dark, but in a fraction of an hour, the morning will come, the sunshine will come. We are correcting the signatures. Let us meet at the referendum, and we want to finish this business by March, April. We have started doing other things, Miriam.
All right. Thank you so much. So there's a story yesterday on yesterday's Sunday Nation that I promised our viewers that we shall be looking at shortly today. And just before we conclude, because we are at the tail end of our show, and that was not the headlines, but just on the side there of the Sunday Nation yesterday, foreign funding to IEBC blocked. I'll just want to get you, every one of you, opinion. Let me just read a part of that story on page 10 of the Sunday Nation yesterday. State now bars IEBC from receiving donor funding. The government is moving to curb the influence of foreign money in elections by blocking direct financing of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission ahead of the 22 elections. The decision recently confirmed to the United Nations Development Fund, UNDP, which has been managing the election funding in a letter, comes as international organizations involved in election support programs and who closed shop after the 2017 polls begin to come back. They have begun to come back, all right? Now, a source of the Foreign Affairs Ministry said the government has told the donors that if we need help, we will let you know. The source spoke on condition of anonymity because he did not want to strain the relationship with the donors who have been financing the UNDP's support to electoral process in Kenya. The letter from the government was written in response to an earlier one by the donors as they sought clearance to start the new program that would have lasted up to the 2022 elections and beyond. Already, donors have alerted the IEBC to reorganize its programs in light of the development which will hit the commission hard. Top IEBC officials, including Chairman Wafula Chebukati and Acting Chief Executive Hussein Marjan, did not return our calls, while Commissioner Abdi Gulie said he had been away from the office and did not have all the information. So I will not go too much into the story, but we all get the gist. So apparently what I'm just learning from this story is that these funders were actually funding IEBC directly and not through the government. What is wrong What is wrong with that statement right there?
Yes, Miriam, I think with the IBC having all kinds of accusations in terms of not spending money that has been given there from the taxpayers' coffers prudently, I think it would be very mischievous for any donor to directly put their money there. And for one reason, Miriam, it means that if this money goes to the IBC without passing through the government's structures of checks and balances, it means that this money will be misappropriated. And also, we have to factor in the interest of this particular donor in the electoral system that we have in Kenya. We don't have to have donors giving money to our electoral body, which itself does not even guarantee the Kenyan people free, fair, and credible elections. In that way, it will portray a picture where some foreign influence is at the center of our own electoral body. So therefore, even before we start talking about advancing more funds to the IEBC, the point of concern at this particular moment should be to ensure that the road at the center of the IEBC is cleared. We have a restructuring in terms of the leadership there. We have this current leadership out of office as soon as possible, even before we proceed for a referendum in mid next year. We need to get Chebukati and his team out of the helm of the IEBC. We clean our IEBC, we tighten the electoral reforms and ensure that never again Kenyans shall be able to go to election with a body which does not guarantee at the end of the day a free, fair and credible elections. And that is one issue also the BBI report is really working to fix, because when you read at around page 80 something there, it talks about electoral reforms and fixing the IEBC, doing a vetting exercise for the current leadership and ensuring that those whose credibility has not been found to be measuring up are sent home. And also it creates quite an environment that enables willing full resignation of top leadership of the IEBC. So first of all, before we advance money to the IEBC, be it from the Kenyan government, be it from the foreign donors, we have to make sure that IEBC itself has an integrity that stands and that it's an efficient body that guarantees Kenyans free, fair and credible elections, Miriam.
Jevan, the government right now is moving to curb the influence of foreign money in elections by blocking direct financing. First of all, why were we having the donors directly financing IEBC? What are the dangers in that in terms of democracy and foreign influence? Karanja.
Miriam, and this one is quite clear that if we allow this kind of donations and we are heading to a general election, these donors might influence the kind of election that we might have in future. They might influence kind of a regime change. If they want a specific person, a specific candidate to be the president, they can work in cahoot with all these IBC commissioners and secretariat to ensure that some people are rigged out and some people are in government so that they can continue corrupting and using the public funds. Because at the end of the day, there's something that these donors want to benefit from. And that might be some kind of project and contracts in future if they get the person at the helm of power. And another thing, we will not have a people of integrity in the helm of IBC. People now, the kind of commissioners they will end up having, they will be corrupted and they will be aligned to them and they will be controlled by those people who give them money. Because at the end of the day, if you are funded, you'll now start subjecting yourself to the demands of the person who is sponsoring you. That is what happens. Therefore, at the end of the day, we might have a commissioner, an IBC that is not independent, that is foreign-based, independent institution in Kenya, but is being controlled from outside the country. That will also undermine the government of the day, because right now we are heading to a referendum, and we expect the IBC to be the overseer, to be the referee in this kind of a process. And if they'll be funded by these foreign donors, they might end up corrupting the results. These are the dangers that are staring at us. Mm-hmm. And also, we saw that the IBC, the Wafula Chebukati, talking of ambiguous amounts that will be used to carry out the referendum. Now you see the kind of rhetoric that is coming from the IBC chairperson, that is Wafula Chebukati. You see that kind of statement is not independent on its own. Therefore, now we start seeing, and Kenyans will lose trust in this kind of institution. Already we don't have trust in the IBC, and I think it is high time they are stopped from using those resources, because they will influence, they will damage even this country in the future, because we know the disagreements that comes from a rigged elections. And the Kenyans must start having, and that is why we have a BBI that seeks to rectify the mess in the IBC, that seeks to bring sanity, to bring transparent, integrity, honest, credibility, and all those manner of things to ensure that we have a free and fair election. That is the kind of scenario that we are having. But if we allow this kind of donation, this kind of foreign influence, we will not achieve that. And moving forward, Miriam, we need to have men of integrity there. And I think when they be going for vetting, they should not vet anybody, because I've seen how Chebukati and the Roserain Akombe, the other commissioner, the kind of treatment, that the kind of issues that they are doing in the IBC. We need to have Kenyans who have and who stand for the highest moral standards in this nation at the IBC, because that institution is one that holds the fabric that holds this country together. Because if they misbehave, this country will not be the same again. Right. Thank you.
All right, very well. So according to the story on yesterday's Sunday Nation, says the government and supporters of President Uhuru Kenyatta blamed foreign influence, among others, through an international organization for the Supreme Court decision to nullify the presidential election. This was confirmed by the source at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, who referred to some international development partners involved in election support programs as infiltrators and scavengers working for the interests of foreign powers. Now, in the past, through UNDP, donors have funded voter registration, election security, technology acquisition, training for IBC staff, and the police and legal reforms, among others. These sectors here that are mentioned, that the donors have been funding: voter registration, election security, technological acquisition. These are very key to a free and fair election in this country, and to know there are other people who are financing this very important core of our democracy. Why did we even allow that to happen, Douglas Kirimi?
Thank you, Miriam. We all know the US spent over $48 million in investigating the Russian interference in the electoral processes and the ultimate presidential outcome in 2016. This country, which is a third world country, we need to tell each other the truth. If the mighty US, a superpower by today's standards and all that, would complain in 2016 that Russia, where Mr. Putin sits as a president, and interfered with the election. And remember, Russia does not fund the US elections, the state's electoral processes in the US
in any way.
But you would have. Yes, Miriam?
Go ahead. I'm saying they don't fund in any way. So I imagine the way you've been funding. Yes, go ahead.
If they were funding, they would dictate everything, including who takes tea and who takes mandazi from IBC in the US. The IBC in the US. But in this case, the US, a mighty economy, was complaining that Russia has overturned the election, so they had to use $48 million, which could have been used to maybe do other things in the US, to complain that the US had been interfering with the elections. It is known in Africa, and this is a truth that our people should know, that donor funding has a caveat on it, has something behind it, that when they fund the IBC, they will have control on what happens at IBC. Another thing, and which I have a problem with, is Mr. Chebukati answering politicians in this country. He has a big problem that I think independent institutions don't have. For example, Mr. Chebukati needs to, if there's a problem that politicians needs to do, I can raise a petition in parliament and he can be summoned in parliament, like ministers are summoned in parliament, but that thing has not happened. Chebukati has become an activist that would answer Mr. Odinga in the morning, in the evening, including me here in Meru. If I want to answer, to accuse Mr. Chebukati of anything, you would run a press statement. That job is for activists. And one way that I think that the government of Kenya is about to protect democracy in this country and our independence and our sovereignty as a people is that every major NGO has coalesced around opposing BBI. Every activist from elected governors who came from civil society, everyone is coalescing around opposing BBI, and Chebukati is joining the fray, who is supposed to be an independent chairman of an independent institution in the constitution. We cannot allow as a country our independent electoral and boundaries commission to be controlled by activists or political and activist wannabes. Mr. Chebukati has turned into an activist and is being aided by a group of people across the globe, and including here, the activists are reading from the same script with Mr. Chebukati, and the funding that is funded directly to the IBC. We suspect, and I also suspect myself, that that money will end up in the hands of wrong people. And because that money is not accounted for by the government of Kenya, there are no, like Sean was saying, there are no checks and balances from government, that money might end up in the hands of wrong people who would want to force regime change in this country. And we don't want that. All these donor funds that want to fund our electoral processes and everything, thank you so much. We can fund our own. Russia has been doing that. Uganda doing that. Tanzania refused donor funding in the electoral processes because they know the implications of free lunch. In this country, if I keep buying you free lunch, Miriam, if I keep buying Professor free lunch every day, they should be asking themselves, what is the motive behind Douglas doing that? And their motive has been controlling our electoral processes. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has moved to stamp his authority through his government that in Kenya we need to protect our own democracy, our sovereignty as a people. So this issue of free lunch from donors and everything, they can do other things, but this one, the election thing, we need to handle it on our own way. We are an independent country. We are a country that enjoys its own sovereignty. We need to exercise our own democracy, unique to our problems, unique to our strengths, and beat us as a nation. We cannot allow Mr. Chebukati, and we are asking that the president and the people of this nation who wants to protect the soul of this nation from being snatched by the people who want to force regime change in this country, we are asking them to send away Mr. Chebukati and the rest of the commissioners home, so that including this BBI thing, if they can effect and send him home before we can pass BBI, or we pass BBI and send him home, we don't want him in that office again. He has turned into an activist, and he needs to be told the truth. He has turned into an activist, and that is not what an independent commission does. Right. So this issue of funding, Miriam, my opinion is that we should cut funding. We actually, the government has written in the paper, the source that has been quoted has said, the government has now grown. We can handle our democracy and our governance issues, and we can raise revenue to do our own elections.
All right, Douglas, thank you.
In my own house, Miriam, you cannot overthrow me and come in my own house because you've done some shopping and some small juices here and some small wine. You're gonna come and start making decisions on which bed sheets I should be putting on my bed, which blanket or duvet. No, we cannot allow Mr. Chebukati to do those things that he is doing, aided by foreign donors and people who don't love Kenya. The soul of this nation should be protected from Mr. Chebukati and people in the civil society. We are not saying people in civil society are bad. There are elements in the civil society who want to turn our country into a banana republic. That one we shall not allow, and Mr. Chebukati must go. He should be sent out of that office. Actually, they should appoint a man that needs to put this country, their interest, their patriotism before their stomachs. Mr. Chebukati must go. Thank you, Miriam.
Maybe it's about time we had a woman there. Now that you mentioned a man, maybe if we had a woman there, it will make a difference.
Yes, please, Miriam.
Elections and the judiciary are basic sovereignty issues that we cannot let foreigners fund, the Foreign Affairs Ministry, a source said. Lawyers Willis Otieno, who was in the team of lawyers that represented NASA presidential candidate Raila Odinga in the Supreme Court, petition of 2017 says foreign money in our election has been used by other governments to dictate to Kenyans who or where to buy technology. and by extension, how to conduct our elections. And Douglas, there you've alluded to the fact that if I came to your house with some shopping, I cannot now tell you how to run your house. What if I'm paying for your rent? Will that give me a much bigger voice, Professor? It's just the fact that we are not funding our own elections.
Miriam, let me just build from where Douglas has left.
Yes.
Miriam, if there is no food in my house, you come and do some shopping and bring this food, and my children eat, and they die. You did not consult me. What will happen? That's a question I'm saying. Miriam, if these donor agencies are giving money direct to IVC, and you know Kenya who we are struggling with corruption, and those people go and misuse the money, whom are you going to ask? Is it when the government of Kenya you are going to ask, investigate? Miriam, when we did audit of 2017 general elections, Miriam, we found that there were some kits which were purchased and they were never used. And millions of taxpayers' money were used. Miriam, what the government is trying to do, and someone should not read any suspicion, we are trying to remove what we call duplication, Miriam. Duplication in this sense that all the money should be channeled to the government. Let the IBC come with what they want to do. If the money for fourth education, if money for registration, then the government will be able to deduct from the budget which has been presented by IBC. When we have Miriam like this, the donors will give this money, the government will give this money, and this money for the donors will disappear, and that's corruption. Miriam, we need to do our needs assessment. The needs assessment have been done, and Miriam, there is no goodwill from the current commissioner at IBC. We are trying to replace them. Even BBI report, Miriam, has said what will happen to them. And Miriam, then you give them money, and they are going to be vetted and to go home, and they disappear with that money. Only a fool will allow for you to fund this kind of people. So Miriam, in any elections, 3 words we look for. We want the election to be fair, to be free, and credible. We don't refuse development partners, Miriam, but we want to work in harmony, in synergy. In a time like this, Miriam, our focus now is to reform that institution. Kenyans have given recommendation, and we are finding a way on how we are going to reform that institution. So it is not prudent, it is not wise that the money goes direct. And I understand how donor money funds come to this country, Miriam. Even a county government will go outside there and they will negotiate money. And when that money comes to this country, it will pass through the treasury, and the money will be channeled to your account or whoever or whichever institution which has ever wanted to. Miriam, that is how transparency and accountability comes in. So in this part of this one again, this is not the first for avoidance of doubt with Daniel and Douglas and Jevan that the donors have supported us, have financed our elections, but let the things be done in a structured way, whereby the government is in, and the donors are in, and the IBC is in, so that we know that all the resources which have been deployed in this country, they did what. But when I want to see that the money want to go direct, Miriam, there is a sinister motives. And Miriam, let me tell you from my own experience from the donor funds. Some of these donors, what they do, Miriam, they know how they can get money from outside there. They bring that money to their country, merely again for them to take it back. If you have never realized, Douglas was saying, I don't know whether it was Daniel or Douglas who said, there is nothing for free that the donors are giving you for free. Are you so special to be given for free? They know what they take. They bring this percentage. There's one who wanted to give me money, Miriam, and they wanted to take 60% of the money he was going to give to my organization. I said, no, take your money where you want to take it. In any event, then my organization, the receiving money, should receive more money. So in this kind of year, Miriam, this money comes and alternatively it goes back because they know where they are going to purchase kits. They will get the percentage from there. How did the chicken get? A man in the UK found himself in trouble. Mm-hmm. This is exactly what happens. Mm-hmm. So on this, I give thumbs high on the government, and let us try to do things in the right way. This is our own country. We need to support our sponsor, our elections, and if there are some partners who want to come in, a structured way on how donors comes in. The government must be free, must be aware, must be part and parcel of what happens to all institutions in this country. Mm-hmm. If anything goes wrong, it is the government of Kenya which will be asked.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So in conclusion, I'd like to hear just very short submissions, very short, please, so that we're able to conclude the show. Having a consensus or a contested referendum, will a contested referendum bring more division to the country, or will it just continue to amplify our democracy? We start with Javan.
Okay, thank you very much. If we go for that referendum, we are not saying that those people who lose are not Kenyans. Maybe the proponent of the BBI will lose. That will not say that they are not Kenyans. Miriam, we go for an exam and people do fail. People don't meet the average aggregate to join university. And that is not to mean they are not Kenyans. There are other channels where they can go and they end up in the university. Therefore, this is the kind of the scenario that we have in Kenya. Therefore, it's not to mean that we'll be divided. In fact, this BBI will unite us more, because if it passes, it will be implemented, and after its implementation, that is when we'll have a country that is united. All the good things in the BBI will be implemented if the document sees the light of the day, and that is where we want as a country. So it will not divide Kenyans. These are documents that intends to bring inclusion, equitable shared resources, to the issue of decisive elections, and to ensure that all Kenyans feel as part and parcel of this nation. Therefore, Miriam, I don't agree in that statement that it will divide us. In fact, this document will bring Kenyans in board. In fact, even if those will go for the norm and we lose, they will be brought in board, and that they will be part and parcel of the government, because we have an official opposition leader where they can go and check the balance as they portray whether they are capable to be the government in future. Because when you're in position, that is where we gauge and we know what you can do if you get the government. Therefore, these are documents for all Kenyans, and I invite all Kenyans to read the document, to understand that they should not be deceived. They should not be confused by the politicians who think that it is only them, it is only their region, it's only their tribe that matters. This country is bigger than all of us, and Kenya is here and will be here after we are long gone. Therefore, let us make it better now when we have an opportunity.
Thank you so much, Javan Karanja from Nanyuki. Daniel, a contested referendum, would this mean more division in the country?
Miriam, first of all, we have to agree that we are a country which is founded on a very strong principles of democracy. And also the question in place is the BBI report. And any Kenyan who has read the BBI report and internalized it with a lot of discernment will agree that it's a good document, and document which seeks to unite the entire country, which seeks to bring inclusivity and bring also on board shared prosperity for this country. And therefore, it should be a document that should not bring division among us Kenyans. And so far, so good. We are having a very sober conversation around it. And that is why we say that if at all we have people who feel that the BBI report is not quite sufficient in terms of catering for their needs and views, let us meet on the ballot. At the ballot, we shall be able to decipher whichever group that has the majority, and then if it sells through, then we shall get it into our constitution and amend it. If it doesn't, then whoever will be the majority will have taken the day. And at the end of the day, Miriam, we shall remain Kenyans, We shall be the people of this country. We shall be united as like never before. And Kenya will live beyond the election cycle, be it the BBI or the 2022 presidential election. So therefore, Miriam, it's a good debate. We need to encourage such debate so that we also our democracy. And for those ones who are against the BBI, I believe it's now high time, of course, with the anticipation that the signature collection is slated for this week. It is now time that they also prepare to mobilize their people behind them so that we meet at the ballot come 2021 and decide whether we need these constitutional reforms or not. That is my take on that, Miriam. It should unite us more than it can divide us.
All right, thank you so much, Daniel Vesonga from Nairobi. Douglas Kirimi, a contested referendum, will it, does it mean more division in the country, or this will just strengthen our democracy?
Miriam, I don't know how many minutes I have. If I have 2 minutes, I'll stick to 2 minutes.
All right, I'll give you two. Go ahead.
Okay. In 1990s, we had the conversation on repealing Section 2A that had made Kenya a one-party state. And we brought the conversation in 1990s, early 1990s, brought the repealing of Section 2A by former President Daniel Arap Moi, which brought the multi-party democracy that we enjoy today. So the conversation in that time didn't pit the Kanu people or those that are supported. In president that Kenyans were celebrating yesterday, in 1990s, he was opposing the repealing of Section 2A. Actually include every Kanu top brass was opposing that thing. In 1997, the intergovernmental, I think, talks. I was a kid, so professor will correct me if I'm wrong. That brought an end to the rule of President Moi then, and now it paved the way for other people to come and take the reins of leadership in this country. And those talks, if I'm wrong, forgive me, it's my memory from my history that is giving headache. From that conversation, we had a clear path on where the country was going. So President Moi would hand over, and that conversation gave birth to a 2002 democratic election. In 2005, we had a no and a yes conversation that was going around the country, and the yes was fronted by the government, and the no was fronted by the side that was opposing the constitution making process that time. The conversation gave us one of the most vibrant parties in Africa, ODM. That conversation in 2005 did not pit those that are in government and those that were opposing and those that president sacked, and Kenyans that were opposing and the Kenyans that were supporting the government and those that were opposing. That conversation didn't bring this unity. It brought about more democracy and people were brought together. And we went on to 2010. The constitution in 2010 that was promulgated in August of 2010 did not bring more divisions in this country. It strengthened democracy, and we have one of the most progressive constitutions around the world. So the conversation that we have brought again in BBI process is not a process or something that is going to bring disunity among Kenyans. It is a conversation that is going to set us to a more progressive, more democratic, and more prosperous Kenya, towards a more cohesive and integrated Kenya, and a country that respects the rule of law and democracy. So these conversations that have been since 1990s to date, all these conversations, amidst the debate of us versus them and all that no and yes, in every conversation that has happened in this country, something great has come out of it. And in this BBI process, I am a proponent of BBI. There are people who are opposing BBI process today, Miriam. But that does not mean I hate my brother, I hate my sister because they are opposing BBI. It gives us a more clear, more cohesive, and a more coherent conversation on the democracy and the path of prosperity and progress of this nation. So after this BBI is done, we are going to have a more united Kenya, a more prosperous and a more democratic country where the deputy president can oppose the president, his boss, behind him. He would oppose. That is the Kenya that we want. We want a Kenya where I disagree with the Wesonga professor, despite him being older than me, and disagree with you, Miriam. But again, it brings us together as a people. So this BBI process is not going to bring Kenyans disunity among Kenyans. It's going to bring us to a more democratic, prosperous, and a more united Kenya. Right. I submit.
Thank you so much. Professor, contested referendum, the same question. Will it lead to more division in the country, or maybe we should think about consensus?
Miriam, it will only bring division if only we are differing on ideology. Those people who are against the BBI, they don't have an ideology. It's only propaganda. They know the document is good. Miriam, those who opposed 2010 Constitution, the Deputy President and the Church, if they had opposed it on the principle, if they had an ideology why they were opposing it, why haven't they brought that ideology now? The only fear we have, those who are opposing the BBI, it is because they think they have been there. Miriam, to aspire is not to become. The Deputy President is aspiring to become the President of Kenya. In any event, Miriam, I don't even know this. He support base. In fact, he's going to stand for the first time in 2022 to know how much he can garner. So, Miriam, there's not going to be division. The document is good. There is no ideology. It's only propaganda. And democracy, as Daniel has said, democracy can be messy. Because at the end of the day, when you go to court, Miriam, there's one side which wins. And there's the one which comes from there. They are very jovial, they are very happy. And there's another one which sheds tears, Miriam. But at the end of the day, they shed tears for a short time and life moves on. So this is a good document. We take Kenya forward. In fact, in any event, do you know what we are doing? We are making an office for the Deputy Prime Minister, the Deputy President. He will be in Parliament. He will be checking the government from there. Otherwise, he could have been in the streets. In 2010, he opposed. He was the first beneficiary of the first Deputy President. We used to have the Vice President. So, Miriam, let us support this document. Let us continue praying for our country. And I believe in competitive politics, which is based on ideas and an ideology. But on their side, it's only mere propaganda. They know the document is good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor. Thank you, Tankoi Adam. Thank you, Emmanuel Olenkiti. You're saying channeling money to the government instead of IBC is an entitlement to corruption. We haven't healed from the COVID millionaires yet. The problem with the donors' funds isn't IBC or government. It is the leadership we have locally. Change the leadership, not the funds issues. All right, your opinion. Thank you so much, Emmanuel, for watching. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Douglas Kirimi from Meru. Thank you, Daniel Wesonga, Jevan Karanja from Nanyuki. This has been the People's Court. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Farewell.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.